Mishmin Tuhis, Connercott Canyon, CoyoteWoman, Sarah's Roots. I am on a job site with some downtime. And I figured I would offer a story. And this is going to be very, 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 like, condensed, because I just want to just tell pieces of the story. So, for full disclosure, Indian Canyon is a ambassador to help promote an amazing series of films, and it's dominantly because of one film, which is The Eternal Song. And I appreciate my experience with this because as a California native who identifies with coyote trickster medicine, there are times that I joke about how in some of our creation stories, coyote teaches people what not to do by doing it. Coyote isn't always trusted to solve the day. Also, coyote isn't always trusted to ruin everything too. So it's not one way or another. It's just you got to be on your toes. And I'm blessed with the in-between energies. I also have a tattoo that says the one damn time. The one damn time I wear flip-flops, it rains. One damn time I'm flagellating and poorly talking about myself, and very critical, is the time I knock it out the park. One damn time I'm very cocky and confident and bragging about something is the time that I'm on the ferry at 5 a.m. on the way to Alcatraz and I don't have my clapper stick. Good times. Gotta love welcoming people and engaging in awareness and land acknowledgement. So back to the little storytelling element. I have enjoyed having the opportunity to hold space in the obligatory, or unironically obligatory, land acknowledgement position. And it's low-key appropriate for me because I'm visiting that territory. So I don't think land acknowledgements are all that great when you're in your own territory, when it's somebody else hiring you. Like, it's one thing for me to say welcome to Indian Canyon because that's like my home and my backyard. It would be terrible for an organization to hire me and have me as the native person of the territory helping their community learn about land acknowledgements without they themselves doing the land acknowledgement and then saying, we have this local community member who we want to share perspective, share voice, share culture. See, there's a difference. It's one thing, it's me doing a land acknowledgement on my own territory versus other people saying, do the reverse of what we should be traditionally doing, i.e., technically, it should be everybody should be acknowledging the land that they're on. Everyone should be asking permission to be there. If you're not on your ancestral homeland, then you're a visitor. You're a guest. Ideally, you're attempting to be a good community member. And there I go again. I'm mini tangent. Apologies. So, to preface this, I was lucky to be able to witness the Goldman Environmental Awards. And there's an opportunity that community get to network, schmooze and booze. And so I'm at this gathering. I know only a handful of people. And for those of you who know me, you might see me as an extrovert. I'm an extroverted introvert. When I'm not in my element, I'm shy. What, me? No. And so I was feeling sort of like out of place. Not many people knew me. So I managed to run into a handful of people who knew me. And one person said, you need to meet these people. So I meet these people. And a couple of people, and at the time, I couldn't place their accents and their location, but I'm like, all right, passionate people, seemingly storytellers. They hand me a flyer after they learned that I'm a local Ohlone community voice, and they wanted me to witness their creation, their project, which was a film, and they wanted me to open it up, offer land acknowledgements. And so the way I joke is that it's appropriate because I'm not of the territory that they're asking me to acknowledge, and they're trying to learn themselves the best that they can to learn about the people of the territory. So wherever I go, I acknowledge the tribes and the communities. And since this was in the Bay Area, one of them was happening in San Francisco, one was happening in Oakland, I acknowledged in San Francisco the Association of Ramaytush Ohlone people, the Muwekma. When we were over in the East Bay, I acknowledged the Confederated Villages of Lashawn and Himrin, and how the Muwekma acknowledge tribal affiliation and their ancestors are of the Bay. So I was offering awareness and also acknowledge the language of the territory. East Bay, Chochenyo, San Francisco, Ramaytush. I introduced myself culturally and respectfully with Indigenous protocol, acknowledging my matrilineal line and the territory I come from and my ancestry and of my background. Like, I have mixed ancestry, so I have California Indigenous and Euromud ancestry, so attempt to honor my ancestors to the best of my ability. And I'm telling them this. So I haven't consented yet, and they want me to come. I said, can you help, with travel so I can be present? And they said, we'll make sure. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. I have to witness your project and just see what's possible. And they're like, of course, we can send you a link. I learned that this event is going to probably happen in under a couple of weeks. I'm like, fast turnaround. ADHD, neurodivergent, distractible being here, who's usually stretched very thin, very busy. I don't get a chance to watch the link. They did give me access, so free and prior informed consent of the content. And then I'm late. To the space. So instead of opening up with a land acknowledgement, I managed to walk in right when it's starting. So they had given just a short intro, just let people watch it. And it's the global unveiling of the Eternal Song. And I had learned just pieces that they went to 12 countries, interview people. I don't know much. And as a Native person, especially whenever I witness media about Indigenous peoples, I'm looking with a scrutinous eye. I'm frustrated with this car. It likes to make noise. I'm witnessing it with a scrutinous eye. I'm low key, like, I am on a mission. My focus is to look for cultural appropriation. My focus is to see if there's any exploitation or romanticization of Indigenous peoples or spiritual bypass or spiritual tourism. It's very common. A lot of New Age energy that is informed with capitalism, consumerism, and the Americentric agenda that is devoid of accountability and founded in resource extraction and just bypass. And it's frustrating. This is me not trying to make a broad brushstroke on any type of neo-paganism or New Age energies. It's just a behavior that people have slowly learned. People have learned this from our environments. Capitalism, consumerism, disposable society model built through resource extraction, both of natural resources and of Black and brown bodies in low socioeconomic communities. Very troublesome. So I'm looking for it. I'm looking for something to criticize. And I'm watching this, and the storytelling is amazing. They touch on everything: the importance of ceremony, connection and reconnection to culture, wisdom of elders, focusing on the next generation, honor the past to shape the future. All of these elements of a lot of teachings that I was raised with. And they're visiting people in Australia, they're visiting people in Greenland, they're visiting people on the islands, in the south, and in the jungle. I'm like, they had conversations with veterans, they had conversations with parents, they had conversations with grandparents. They talked about the residential schools, they participated in Sweat Lodge, they filmed pieces, and that one I have 10 sweat lodges on our land, and I've been very privileged to be invited to many intertribal gatherings and intertribal spaces. So I have experience of witnessing how different people talk about and navigate these spaces, especially around documentaries and any form of documentation, and the critical energy around it. So I was happy to witness the way the storytelling was. And so I'm watching it, and there were parts I even cried, and it was beautiful. And so at the end of the film, I had made myself known before the end of the film, because I gravitate to the in-between. So like I learn about like who's organizing an event, people who know the inner workings of stuff, hanging out, from simple as like hanging out with security guards to hanging out with staff. I like to get a sense of my surroundings rather than just be an audience member like, huh, cool. I like to wonder. So I made myself known to them quietly. So they invited me up. And then at the end of the film, I acknowledged the land and I offered a song. And they asked me what I thought. And I shared them just what I shared here, that I was looking for something. And so I disclosed that I was honestly looking for something to criticize. I was being very critical, looking for any type of overt exploitation, and that I'm happy to be humbled. I'm happy to have witnessed this and not find the stereotypical egregious frustrations that I tend to see in some of these spaces. And they're like, oh, thank you. Like, wow. And they said, so what's your thoughts on the film? And I said, well, it's very indigenous. Oh, wait. They had also started talking about the film and their process. And then when they said, what did you think of the film? Very indigenous. And then they're like, well, we interviewed a whole bunch of indigenous people. I'm like, no. And when I say indigenous, because of what they just said, they had just talked about their process, that they went to all these countries, that they were invited by these communities. They were able to film a tribe in Africa that has never allowed anybody to record. Ever. And they didn't even go there with the assumption that they would succeed. On the day that they were going to go into the sweat lodge, they were gearing up, getting ready. And then they were invited to the space, and the elder's like, no, get that off. No, you're going in. And they're like, oh. And then they had to go in and go to the lake and come back in, and a whole process. They were invited into community. And so when they were sharing that part, then is when they said, what are your thoughts? And I said, very indigenous. And they were like, well, duh. And I was trying to be like, no. The process. They voiced that they listened. Like, they listened to the communities, they listened to the land, they listened to the energy. Even the message that came through to create feature-length films for all of the spaces that they traveled to, because each of those spaces deserves that type of messaging, that type of sharing of culture, that type of storytelling, to not just be a piece of a part of a big thing, that each of these spaces deserves an opportunity to share their beauty and their connection. And so I was when I said very indigenous, when I make critical analysis or criticisms about like Western colonial approaches, there's a sense of humans think they can control their environments. They think that they can navigate it by saying, we're going to operate at this price line, like the budget, the time, the things that are going to happen, the place is going to happen. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I don't do well with other external sounds, so of course it's going to stop now. Okay. So, this concept that humans think they can control their environment and control the things around them, like, kind of like the idea of like, we're going to build a building over there at that location, at these exact measurements, under this budget, under this timeline, with these resources, with these supplies, with these occurrences, and it needs to happen at this timeline, da. And then, to me, when I think about an Indigenous approach informed with Indigenous pedagogies and Indigenous science, a traditional ecological knowledge. One, we already are and have listened to the land. We understand the water resources. We understand the space. We recognize what is potentially necessary. Do we need a structure or a building? Is there a need for these things? Like, is it just because we want it there? Is it just because someone has money and they wanted to deliver it? Or is there a purpose? Listening to the landscape, the soundscape, the skyscape. Also knowing the area, because like a lot of Western projects don't listen to the people or the rights of nature. Understand that there's more to listen to than just other humans. The first people are the plants and animals. They came first. And so recognizing the rights of nature is so very important. And so if Native peoples were talked to in the Western colonial construct, Native peoples could be like, oh, you do realize that area floods, or you do realize that area is subject to this type of westerly wind, or anything like that. Like Western colonialism, Western settler colonialism. Settler is not an insult. Colonialism is. So settler, to be a settler, not bad. To be a colonial settler, not the greatest. And yes, it could be taken as an insult. But settlers, like other Native peoples that I know are settlers. They've settled in other Native lands that aren't theirs. Ain't nothing wrong with that. The history is what we need to honor and acknowledge. Honor the past to shape the future about how we got here. So, derailed again. And so, very Indigenous way of approaching this project. They didn't go, it needs to be a feature-length film. It needs to say this. We have this message to share. We have this energy to acknowledge. We have this. It was them being in community, them witnessing the community they were given the chance to be exposed to, and convey messaging and stories and perspective, and just sharing the wealth of knowledge and beauty that they witnessed and were able to document. And that's why I support it. That's why I appreciate it, because I loved the fact that I was humbled. I love the fact that wherever they go, they listen to the Native peoples of the territory, even in their stumblings. Like they didn't know any Ohlone people in the Bay, and then they had other gatherings, and they had Confederated Villages of Lishan. They had other gatherings. I loved when they went to the MIIS, because they had 4 representatives of Monterey County, and that wasn't even all of them. That was just the people that they managed to schedule. And so they had Linda Yamani, they had Jana Nason, they had Carrie Herthel, they had Violet Smith. They had community members doing amazing work, and those community members were able to share their perspective. They weren't just brought up to acknowledge the land and be like, thank you, local Native people, and now we're going to show our show. They ensured that the community was given a chance to share their perspective, to share anything that their community is doing. It was like part of the process, part of the ceremony. And those community members, I had heard from them that they hadn't seen it, or the community members that I talked to, they hadn't seen it, so it was their first time seeing it. The ones I talked to, can't speak for all of them. And also Native foods, California Native foods. So it was a beautiful experience at the MIIS. And everywhere they go, it's inclusive, and it offers awareness, and it helps community members and their audience be a part of it. And then I also got a chance to share my perspective, especially at the end, because they recognize that they aren't Indigenous people of the territories that were brought up in the film, and so they wanted to be sure that they weren't speaking for Native peoples or interpreting anything through their lens. That they were authenticically offering perspective from their lived experience and from what they witnessed, and they make sure to articulate that, to not make any broad brushstrokes or generalizations or make statements about things that they don't have the lived experience to speak from. And I appreciate that so very much, because so many times people try and empathize. Oh, you Natives go through this, and I hear that you don't like this and don't like that. I'm mad at that thing for you. Like, we can be upset about settler colonialism. We can be upset about colonization and the impact to all of our peoples. Because when you honor your elders and your ancestors, we all can acknowledge that we all have indigenous lineages from the land of our ancestors, meaning we all can honor our indigeneity. However, if you are not on the land of your ancestors, then you are a visitor, you are a guest. And how are you being a good community member? How are you being in community with those around you? And community is not just humans. Again, recognizing the rights of nature, but also like a good community member honoring the past to shape the future. The history that came before you. How is it that you're enjoying the building you're in? How is it that you're enjoying this internet that is helping convey this message? How is it that you are clothed and fed? And the foods, how far do they travel? Are you recognizing the water systems that are impacted? Are you recognizing how much is impacted? Are you recognizing the petroleum industry of all that transportation? Are you recognizing even with this data that is conveying this message, from the servers to cooling these systems to make sure that the internet is functioning, to make sure that these algorithms and this means of connection and community is unique? Your device does have our relatives a part of it. The petroleum industry is of those who came before us, as well as the minerals. And so the stone people and the ancestors and elders before us. So remember that even these manipulated items, these challenges are still those who came before us. So I am honored and happy to witness these community members and witness the Eternal Song and all of the films that are coming. I have yet to witness all of the titles, and I'm dyslexic, so I am bound to botch and damage and slip up on some names, so I'm not going to spit them out. So if you do get a chance, do take a moment to check out the Eternal Song and support the work of those who all came together to make it happen. And that's everybody. And everybody who's part of that wave. From saying thank you, Canadian, for telling me about this. I'm not trying to put myself first. I am the furthest ripple away. If this video helped expose you to it, cool. And then inner layers, the community members featured, or the community members in all the spaces that it gets a chance to be featured, those Native communities who may get a chance to witness and support it, but their communities are acknowledged, to the people featured in it, and those stories conveyed to the people who took the time to make it happen, to the organizers, to the videographers, to those who took the time to make such a project exist. So I was trying to do an onion, not trying to be like, thank me. I was trying to be like, from as simple as if you got exposed to it from me, all the way to the people who ensured that it happened. I think that's what I wanted to try and say, and I'm sorry not sorry that my non-conventional storytelling methodology went on to tangents, but I dominantly try and loop it back around. I'm trying to double check through my brain if there's any loose ends. I am frustrated about the various noise in the territory, because that means there's no such thing as like healthy snipping. Though at the same time, thank you for joining me in my silly, rambling conversation of why I support the Eternal Song, and a fun experience about my particular exposure to it, and the opportunity I had to go full circle with it, so, and see how it has come along, and again, how excited I am. And so I would, if I had the chance, I would try and find the way to get all of those community members who are part of it and bring them to Indian Canyon. I would love to be able to do that, because Indian Canyon is a safe haven, and it is the land of my ancestors. And my mom has a film called In the Land of My Ancestors. And we're the only federally recognized Indian country It's an allotment, acknowledged by the government, in between Sonoma and Santa Barbara along central coastal California. That being said, Sonoma, you have Great Rancheria, federally recognized land, federally recognized people. Santa Barbara, down by San Ynez, federally recognized land, federally recognized people. However, in the Bay, in Silicon Valley, there currently aren't any federally recognized tribes. And there are many reasons for that. And it's dominantly frustrating to me in regards of California was the most linguistically dense territory this side of the northern hemisphere pre-contact. Still is. However, there are many languages that are dormant. Like just in the San Francisco, Monterey Bay Area region, there are approximately over 6, possibly right around 8 language dialects that the historians and linguists try and say this is a language group. Yet the differences between the languages, like Italian is to Spanish is to French. Sure, romantic languages, grouping, but different. Amore. Definitely not the same language, right? That's how the Bay Area is. And so when we say Ohlone territory or the word Costanoan, those words are post-contact, post-colonial terms. It's as simple as saying, oh, you're a Bay Area in, or Silicon Valley in. Cool, it says you're from that region, from that area, but not exactly what exact area. What city, what county, what district, what neighborhood. So, just so you know, I am a proud Ohlone. We have an organization called Costanoan Indian Research, 501c3. However, both of those are misnomers. And I attempt to go forward with offering that education in a good way. I am proud. And I know cousins who are proud of the word Ohlone. I know other cousins who don't like the word Ohlone. And both are right. Both are right. So, that being said, I just attempt to do whatever I can, whenever I can, wherever I can, for as long as I can. Always attempting to honor truth and history, honor my ancestors to the best of my ability, and attempt to be a good ancestor in training. So, Tamsanak Kanis, loosely, thank you. Literally in the Mutsun language, it means it pleases me. So, I'm content with what I shared here. Hopefully, you enjoyed my little rambling, ranting, storytelling opportunity. All right. Hope you have a good one.